Hello there, friends and sane persons, and welcome to another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. My name is Kyle, and Wednesday Whimsy is a short show that I do every Wednesday evening where I talk about a board game, a top 10 list, or some other board game related topic, whatever happens to be on my mind at the time. Well, as I've mentioned on many occasions, I am currently digging myself out from under a mountain of Kickstarter games. So, we're going to be talking about some of those that have come in. Specifically today, we're going to be talking about a brand new one that I was very excited for, Core of Discovery. Now, it says core, I think the word is technically pronounced core, but because of the theme, I think it might actually be supposed to be pronounced Corpse of Discovery. And it has the worst subtitle of any game I've seen for a while, a game set in the world of Manifest Destiny. Yeah, pretty bad subtitle, but decent game. We'll talk about that in a moment. Anyway, I'll tell you a little bit about what the game is and how it works, and I'll give you my thoughts. So with that out of the way, let's get going. So what is the game about? Well, apparently, so this is a game, the company is called Off the Page Games, and this is their third big game. The first was Mind MGMT. The second one was Harrow County. And this third one is the Corpse of Discovery. And what they do is they take comic IPs and make games about them. And in many cases, at least the other two, that's sort of how I discover what the comic is, and I eventually read it. So this game is about kind of an alternate history Lewis and Clark expedition, where Lewis and Clark go out to explore the Louisiana Purchase at the instructions of Thomas Jefferson. And instead of just finding natives and rivers and land, they find all kinds of terrible, horrible things. Apparently minotaurs, giant man-eating plants, some sort of vampire-like thing, giant insects, all kinds of horrible things. And that's what you're going through in this game. So what you're going to do is you're going to play one scenario, and it's a cooperative game, or solo, and I've actually really only played it solo, so, but I can see how the cooperation would, I mean, it would just be the same thing with a cooperative version. But, yeah, that's kind of what it is. So we'll talk about how it works now. So the game is played over the course of a certain number of rounds. Days, I guess they're called. And a day, let me open the screen share here. A day is going to be depicted by this board, and it's going to have well, I don't know that that belongs there, but it's going to have a certain number of challenges, and on the challenge is going to have a certain time limit before it's completed. Like here, you'll see this one, this Too Hot. After 3 days have occurred, or 3 rounds have occurred, then you're either going to have to pay this cost and pass the test, or suffer the penalty, which would you'll have to pay different costs. Really, only the only cost you ever have to pay is under the fail effect. If you need to pay water and you cannot pay it, you lose the game. Anyway, after you've resolved the card, you're gonna check a couple of status effects, and then you'll keep going until the end of this third challenge. And then after 3 challenges, you must pay the other mandatory cost. You must eat 1 food. If you don't, you lose. Otherwise, you're going to reset things. You're going to get 3 new challenges, reset all of your used abilities, etc. And that's kind of how a round of the game is going to go. And you really have as many rounds as you need, unless the game says otherwise. Although, if you wait too long, you're probably just going to die. So how does the day experience work? Well, so what you're going to do, this is the standard edition. I have a deluxe edition, which is a little bit nicer, but the same general experience. This is the Vemeter, which is the 4th set of maps, I believe. You're going to be looking and trying to explore something. And when you explore, you're going to pick up a token. So, for example, I don't know how they're exploring this. All right, I guess this is the path. So, for example, if they wanted to explore here, they could pick this up. Ooh, that's nice and blurry. Flip it over and see what's on the other side. And but depending on what's on the other side, you'll usually get a resource. Sometimes there's another special effect. And and then you're going to resolve any free effects you want to, and then it'll be the next person's turn. Now, a lot of the game, though, is about, I mean, look, this is the nice version that I have. Most of the game is about doing this sort of flip action, but a lot of it is also about a bit of deduction. It's almost a little bit like Minesweeper. I've seen Sudoku in comments, but Minesweeper is really the closest analog here. So you're going to be looking at what you have, and you start knowing where one rock is. Like it's just there's a predetermined rock space, and you know there's a rock there. And then you'll look at this deduction sheet, these rules, and that's going to help you figure out what else is there. So rock is always adjacent to other rocks, and there's never rocks on the edge of the board. So what do we know? We know for sure that this is not a rock, and that usually there's 3 of each, like it probably says 3 of each terrain. So you know that there's at least 2 more rocks, and so they have to be. So you know that one of these 3 is going to be a rock, and likely one of those 2 will be. And so you're trying to kind of figure out where things are, because you need to know where certain resources are in order to be able to make sure you get the right ones to get what you need. There's water. Water is always next to at least 1 wood, and 1 wood is always next to at least 1 water. There are these berries, and the berries are always diagonally adjacent to a teepee. So you know that there's a teepee here and here and here, and the teepees are always in some way next to a skull. And when you draw a skull, you reveal a negative card, a threat card. But sometimes you need to do that for various reasons. And so you're trying to figure out what must be where so that you can not stumble into things blindly and make informed decisions. For example, there's 1 wood in every row and every column. Kind of Sudoku-like, I guess. And that's kind of what you're doing. You're trying to figure out where stuff is, and then each scenario has you doing certain kinds of challenges. Like they have in the picture here the fauna scenario set up. And in the fauna scenario, in order to win it, you have to kill, I believe, 3 minotaurs. Where are the minotaurs? Well, the minotaurs are going to come up when you find those skulls, usually. Or at the end of the round, you're going to draw a challenge card or a threat card. And the way that you're going to eliminate them is you will look for these forts. And the forts have a rule, right? These hills are going to show you how many forts are in the row and column. And the forts are always in a specific pattern. You'll see like that. So, back to our scenario, we know one of these is a teepee. We know that there's a fort over here, so it's likely that this is a teepee. And, this one could be the teepee, and then this one could be the wood, and then that might be the fort. Now, not far enough in the game to know that for sure, but actually, no, I am, because I know this has to be next to a wood. So this one's got to be a wood, which means that there's likely the teepee. Well, anyway, you're not going to watch me do the deduction because I'm terrible at this game. But once you've found the forts, well, then you get a kill minotaur card, and then when you find a minotaur, you can use a free action to kill it, and that's 1 step towards your goal. Each of the different scenarios, there's several different expansions for it, is going to have different goals and different rules, but the sort of core mechanism of flipping those things over, seeing what's there, and trying your best to deduce what must and must not be in certain places is going to be the core mechanisms of the game. That's kind of how it is. If you succeed in the goal, the game ends immediately, and you win. If you find that you're unable to pay water when you need to, or unable to eat 1 food at the end of the day, you lose, and some other scenarios have alternate loss conditions as well. That's how it goes. Each game's probably about half an hour, unless you lose faster. If you win, it's half an hour to 45 minutes. All right, that's how you play Manifest Destiny, Corpse of Discovery. So what makes this game special? Well, I'll tell you, that deduction can be really satisfying. It's really fun to sort of sit and think, okay, this has to be something. And there are times in the game where it matters, but it doesn't matter all the time. It's not just a logic and deduction game. It's also a game of exploration, and I think it melds those 2 experiences really well. Sometimes you don't know what's there, and that's okay. You can flip it up and see. And sometimes you can even build a fire, and if you have 2 fires and you flip something up and you're like, ooh, I am not ready for that, you can slowly back away, spend the two fires, and, and put the token back down, and then you know what it is, and also you can get it when you're ready for it. Sometimes, like for example, there are in the third scenario, you have to. There's this giant frog monster that's preventing you from doing what you need to, and you have to distract it. So you can spend a special resource, and if you guess correctly what the terrain holds, then you put that monster to sleep, and you can kind of work towards your goal for the round. And I find that's really fascinating because you don't always have to be right. And it's a really nice balance. Thematically, I think it's interesting, right? I mean, somehow they made flip over a token and see what's there into an interesting story-based game with a lot of interaction, right? With you're doing a lot more than just kind of flipping over things. You really feel like you're having an adventure. There's a great sense of discovery. I'll also say that the rules are pretty good. This is the third game from this company, and it's definitely the best rule book of the three. I found the Harrow County rule book to be a bit inscrutable, and my management was pretty good, but had some odd corner cases, I think, if I remember correctly. But this one's just a really solid, straight rule book. Tells you everything you need to do, and then it gives you specific rules for each of the different scenarios. The game comes with two, and I believe you can buy, I mean, mine came with, but you can probably buy additional scenarios if you need them. And each scenario has, I don't know, 10 or so different variants of the map. And so every game you're going to sort of slide one in secretly. It even comes with a little tool to help you do that when it's all covered up. And then, you'll figure out where things are. Obviously, if you were to play the exact same map, you might remember where things were. But if you play two or three maps, my memory is not good enough to remember that there's a wood in space G2 of map 1007 or whatever it may be. So I think it's a really good way to make a game that's perfectly replayable, but it gives you sort of a great sense of discovery each time. Look, if you've got a photographic memory, maybe not, but I don't, so there you go. So it's a really good rule set. It's very replayable. As a solo game, this is fantastic. It is definitely the best solo game of the three. The other two had solo rules. Mind Management required a weird app, and you could only play one side. And Harrow County had kind of a tortured solo mode. It was very upkeep heavy and really made you kind of do weird things. So I didn't love either of their solo modes. This one is fantastic. I've only played it solo, as I said, and honestly, I might just play it solo. I think it's so much fun because you're just, you're in charge of the deduction. Sure, there's no back and forth, and if you play with other people, they'll have characters with special abilities, and so it might be a good 2 or 3 player experience. But as a solo game, it just sings. It's also a good level of challenge. I really find it. I don't find that I get the floor wiped with me, but I find that after about 2 rounds through, I'm getting to the point where I need either to make my move or the game's going to kind of end on me because of something or other. I've played 4 of the different scenarios, and I've played each one a couple of times, and they're all very different feeling. I think the insect one is my favorite because it's that one that I mentioned with the giant frog. It's got this nice level of wanting to figure out where things are. It makes that important, but it makes it, still not critical. And I just found it to be really enjoyable. So it's a great game. I really enjoy a lot about it. So where's the but? Well, I don't know. I mean, it's not perfect. I will say that the way that the game is stored in this box is kind of nightmarish. It's got this big tray, and each tray is supposed to contain one of the modules, and it has a little cover on it, and on the cover is the name of the module and a picture, but each card has a specific symbol on it. Each module has a symbol that's associated with it, and the little cover, the divider, doesn't show that symbol, so you're like, okay, which module is the one? And most of them it's pretty easy. The insect is an insect, but there's one like that's called fog, and then there's another one like this weird boat thing on it. that it's hard. It's kind of not the best storage system. Also, I had a sad experience where I was putting it away and I accidentally knocked the box onto the floor, and then everything went everywhere, and it took a real long time to sort it kind of back into its component parts. So user error, fair enough, but just be aware of that. I don't know that there's a better way. I kind of wish everything had been in tuck boxes. I think that would have been the best way to do it, but whatever. Also, it can be, I mean, it is fairly lucky at times. It's a game that wants you to be strategic, but if you're taking wild guesses, you're not necessarily going to do well. And there are times where you have to take a wild guess, especially toward the beginning of the game, although usually the areas that it starts you in are the kind of areas you can't mess yourself up completely. Also, it could be that you need a resource and you just can't seem to find it because of the path you took. And the game can kind of come down to hinge on that at various points. One other but, and this is the only real gameplay but, is you're supposed to, when you flip over those tokens, you're supposed to stack them on the applicable challenge card. Of course, very easy to do in concept, but so easy to forget. Especially because some of the things say you don't have to spend, you sort of discard it rather than stacking it on the challenge card. And it can be easy to develop bad habits, and if you make a mistake, you might give yourself an extra round. Not the end of the world. It can also, you can get so excited about the deduction that you forget that you only have 2 rounds for a particular card until, 2 or 3 rounds after that, and you're like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'm cheating a little bit. But it's not, I mean, those are small gameplay cons. I'm really liking the game. So where's my final rating? I initially came out as an 8, but after I've played it several times, I think that's going up to a 9 for me. This is just such a fascinating game. It does take a little while to set up, I'll say that, and it's definitely not going to be a travel game by any means, because it's if you jostle this box ever so slightly, you're going to regret it. But it's a great solo game, a great thing just sort of to set up, play around, it's kind of like doing a logic puzzle, but with a story and a game behind it as well. I don't know how easy this one's going to be to find. I kind of wish there were an app. I think I would eat up an app. I'd play that app all the time. And in fact, it almost feels like an app that's kind of made into a game. I wonder if, the same people who made Slay the Spire into a board game might want to take this and make it into an app. I'm joking, of course, but I find the game to be so fascinating and so fun, and it really makes me want to read the Manifest Destiny comics. I probably will. Yeah, so that's kind of it. 9 out of 10. Try before you buy. I don't know if it's going to be for everyone, and I don't know that it makes the very best first impression, but if you play it 2 or 3 times, I think you're going to love it. Yeah, that's what I've got for you. And that's going to end this week's episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Until next time, I'm going to wish you safe travels in the Louisiana Purchase, I guess. Courage when you need it. And I'll see you back next time for another episode of Wednesday Whimsy. Bye-bye.